This is the ocean as I used to know it, and I find that since I've been in the Gulf a couple of times, I really kind of am traumatized, because whenever I look at the ocean now, no matter where I am, even where I know that none of the oil has gone, I sort of see slicks, and I am finding that I'm very much haunted by it. But what I want to talk to you about today is a lot of things that try to put all of this in context, not just about the oil eruption, but what it means and why it has happened. First, just a little bit about me. I'm basically just a guy that likes to go fishing ever since I was a little kid, and because I did, I wound up studying seabirds to try to stay in the coastal habitats that I so loved, and now I mainly write books about how the ocean is changing. And the ocean is certainly changing very rapidly. Now, we saw this kind of graphic earlier on, that we really live on a hard marble that has just a slight bit of wetness to it. It's like you dipped a marble in water. And the same thing with the atmosphere. If you took all the atmosphere and rolled it up in a ball, you would get that little sphere of gas on the right. So we live on the most fragile little soap bubble you can imagine, a very sacred soap bubble, but one that is very, very easy to affect. And all of the burning of oil and coal and gas, all the fossil fuels have changed the atmosphere greatly. Carbon dioxide level has gone up and up and up. We're warming the climate. So the blowout in the Gulf is just a little piece of a much larger problem that we have with the energy that we use to run civilization. Beyond warming, we have the problem of the oceans getting more acidified, and already measurably so, and already affecting animals. Now, in the laboratory, if you take a clam and you put it in a pH that is not 8.1, which is the normal pH of seawater, but 7.5, it dissolves in about 3 days. If you take a sea urchin larva from 8.1, put it in a pH of 7.7, not a huge change, it becomes deformed and dies. And already, commercial oyster larvae are dying at large scales in some places. Coral reefs are growing slower in some places because of this problem. So this really matters. Now, let's take a little tour around the Gulf a little bit. One of the things that really impresses me about the people in the Gulf, they are really, really aquatic people. And they can handle water. They can handle a hurricane that comes and goes. When the water goes down, they know what to do. But when it's something other than water and their water habitat changes, they don't have many options. In fact, those entire communities really don't have many options. They don't have another thing they can do. They can't go and work in the local hotel business because there isn't one in their community. If you go to the Gulf and you look around, you do see a lot of oil. You see a lot of oil on the ocean. You see a lot of oil on the shoreline. If you go to the site of the blowout, it looks pretty unbelievable. It looks like you just emptied the oil pan in your car and you just dumped it in the ocean. And one of the really most incredible things, I think, is that there's nobody out there trying to collect it at the site where it is densest. Parts of the ocean there look just absolutely apocalyptic. You go in along the shore, you can find it everywhere. It's really messy. If you go to the places where it's just arriving, like the eastern part of the Gulf in Alabama, there's still people using the beach while there are people cleaning up the beach. And they have a very strange way of cleaning up the beach. They're not allowed to put more than 10 pounds of sand in a 50-gallon plastic bag. They have thousands and thousands of plastic bags. I don't know what they're going to do with all that stuff. Meanwhile, there are people still trying to use the beach. They don't see the little tiny sign that says stay out of the water. Their kids are in the water. They're getting tar all over their clothes and their sandals. It's a mess. If you go to the place where the oil has been a while, it's an even bigger mess. And there's basically nobody there anymore. A few people trying to keep using it. You see people who are really shell-shocked. They are very hard-working people. All they know about life is they get up in the morning, and if their engine starts, they go to work. They always felt that they could rely on the assurances that nature brought them through the ecosystem of the Gulf, and they're finding that their world is really collapsing. And so you can see literally signs of their shock, signs of their outrage, signs of their anger, and signs of their grief. These are the things that you can see. There's a lot you can't see also. Underwater. What's going on underwater? Well, some people say there are oil plumes. Some people say there are not oil plumes. And Congressman Norkie asks, is it going to take a submarine ride to see if there are really oil plumes? But I couldn't take a submarine ride, especially between the time I knew I was coming here and today, so I had to do a little experiment myself to see if there was oil in the Gulf of Mexico. So this is the Gulf of Mexico. Sparkling place full of fish. And I created a little oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. And I learned, in fact, I confirmed the hypothesis that oil and water don't mix until you add a dispersant, and then they start mixing, and you add a little energy from the wind and the waves, and you get a big mess. A big mess that you can't possibly clean, you can't touch, you can't extract, and I think most importantly, this is what I think, you can't see it. I think it's being hidden on purpose. Now, this is such a catastrophe and such a mess that lots of stuff is leaking out on the edges of the information stream, but as many people have said, there's a large attempt to suppress what's going on. Personally, I think that the dispersants are a major strategy to hide the body because we put the murderer in charge of the crime scene. But you can see it. You can see where the oil is concentrated at the surface and then it is attacked because they don't want the evidence, in my opinion. Okay. We heard that bacteria eat oil. So do sea turtles. When it breaks up, it has a long way to go before it gets down to bacteria. Turtles eat it. It gets in the gills of fish. These guys have to swim around through it. I heard the most incredible story today when I was on the train coming here. A writer named Ted Williams called me, and he was asking me a couple of questions about what I saw because he's writing an article for Audubon magazine. He said that he had been in the Gulf a little while ago, like about a week ago, and a guy who had been a recreational fishing guide took him out to show him what's going on. That guide's entire calendar year is canceled bookings. He has no bookings left. Everybody wanted their deposit back. Everybody is fleeing. That's the story of thousands of people. But he told Ted that on the last day he went out, a bottlenose dolphin suddenly appeared next to the boat, and it was splattering oil out its blowhole. And he moved away because it was his last fishing trip, and he knew that the dolphins scare fish, so he moved away from it, turned around a few minutes later, it was right next to the side of the boat again. He said that in 30 years of fishing, he had never seen a dolphin do that, and he felt that it was coming to ask for help. Sorry. Now, in the Exxon Valdez spill, about 30% of the killer whales died in the first few months. Their numbers have never recovered. So the recovery rate of all this stuff is going to be variable. It's going to take longer for some things, and some things I think will probably come back a little faster. The other thing about the Gulf that is important is that there are a lot of animals that concentrate in the Gulf at certain parts of the year. So the Gulf is a really important piece of water, more important than a similar volume of water in the open Atlantic Ocean. These tuna swim the entire ocean. They get in the Gulf Stream. They go all the way to Europe. When it comes time to spawn, they come inside. And these two tuna that were tagged, you can see